Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Star Wars Stuff Podcast. My name is David,
And I'm Carl.
and this is where we talk all stuff Star Wars. And for today's episode, we're definitely going to talk about our reaction, breakdown, Easter eggs for Episode 4, Day of the Acolyte. And before we get started, we are definitely going to recognize our awesome contributors, our Patreon top tier supporters: Hayden Hauser, Darth Ace One, Liam McCallie, Chris Simpson, Kevin Leininger, Devin McCaffrey, Drew Peters, Zach Netzel, Benwer526, Matt Morris, and Makatao Tala. Thank you so much for your awesome love and support out there. And yeah, so we got episode 4. We're halfway done with the season. We did our post show, and reaction out there on the net, I think, is still mixed with the show and that episode. And I thought that episode of that was actually pretty good. Um, I think I gave it like a 7.5 rating, but I watched it again, and I think it's the rating for me, I think, is a little bit higher now. Um, how many times have you watched it, Carl?
I've watched it twice all the way through now, and I kind of skipped around in it just before we get started here.
Yeah, unfortunately, it is a shorter episode. Um, I don't think anyone likes that. It's kind of unfortunate, but I mean, it's leading up to what we think is a big battle in episode 5. I know Leslie Headland has talked about episode 5 being the special episode. What that means, hopefully, it's a bunch of lightsaber action. That's, I think, what we're all expecting. So, yeah, we're going to run through episode 4 day, about 10-second by 10-second here frame, and talk about what we think and what we've found in the last 24 hours here. So, I'm going to put this up on the screen. And here is the recap. I like that they actually give us recaps.
It helps, especially in a show like this, which is
Yeah.
not as straightforward as other things, because obviously this is a mystery show, so you kind of need to know the puzzle pieces going into the next episode. So yeah, it's a good thing that they're doing recaps. I think.
Yeah, I don't think the fanfare has changed at all. I think we see the exact same helmets.
Yeah, I have noticed no changes there.
So we're back on Kofar. So apparently Kofar was shot on location, um, off the, I think, in the country of Portugal, and I believe it's a very very specific, like, remote destination, like popular with hiking. Apparently, if you look through those clouds, the ocean is right there. But of course, I don't think they want to show that. They want to show more of like a wilderness type of setting here. So I think that's what they're trying to imply.
Yeah, plus there's a few shots that are clearly matted, where they, like, for instance, where they have more of a red tree, like giant sized tree set up, which
Yeah.
they those are don't exist in Portugal. So.
So we get Kelnaka here. He is in a, I guess, this Jedi robe, and he's looks like he's getting one of his meals, retrieving one of his meals. We're about to see him cook. So in the previous episode, I think it was episode 2, right, where we saw him at the very end.
Correct.
There was actually a sign outside of his shelter here, and it said in Shreewood, "Keep out," and it's no longer there for some reason.
Oh, I didn't even notice. But yeah, you're right.
So we get a look inside of Kelnaka's domicile here, his shelter, and we see the spiral formations that we saw on Mother Anastasia's forehead and later on May's forehead. And it really resembles a yin yang symbol here on Earth. A couple of these look pretty much like yin yangs. But if you notice, some of these designs are solid, just solid lines. It's just a solid spiral, and some of these have a spiral with dots on them. I don't know what the significance of that is, but
Yeah, I mean, it would be interesting to find out what exactly he's doing. It looks like he's more or less researching something, or maybe he's actually slightly going nuts. Yeah, because like we've seen in like other movies where people start writing crazy stuff on walls when they start it's like going slightly insane.
That's what I thought too. It's like, yeah, he's got like cabin, he's got like Stockholm syndrome, like cabin fever type of thing. We see him here chopping up his food, and it looks like it's all just greenery. And we see more designs. I mean, he basically graffitied his whole interior of his place here. And there's ominous music playing in the background. And then we fire back off to Coruscant, and we see Jackie Lon here in the middle, and it's a bunch of Padawans practicing. And we actually get to see a master here that we've never seen before. I don't think we've seen a red-headed Jedi before. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I've been actually trying to figure out who that is supposed to be because it almost seems like it's probably one of the characters from High Republic. I just don't recall that particular character.
Yeah, he's actually credited at the very end. I'm not sure if it's a High Republic character. It might just be like a brand new character.
Yeah, like I said, I don't know. It just seems like they're focusing on him a little bit too much for it not to matter. But yeah, who knows?
Yeah. And you can see it really pops on the Padawans' belts there. Jackie Lon has a green lightsaber, and she has a green kind of cummerbund type thing underneath her belt.
Maximize your defenses without need to.
The masters don't have that. So it looks like most of them are green. It's kind of interesting.
Even though, but the blue would be hard to distinguish in the at the range and the amount of light in the room. So it could be that some of them are blue and you just can't really tell the difference.
Dara, Rena, I want to see your opening stance before you leave.
And here we see a conversation between Osha and Jackie. And Jackie basically says they basically talk about Osha wanting saying her goodbyes, essentially saying goodbye to Jackie. Jackie brings up, "Are you going to say goodbye to Soul?" She says, "No, he's got enough to worry about." So she's going to attempt to leave without saying goodbye to Soul. And they have an interaction here that a lot of people are thinking that there's a little bit more to their relationship here. And Osha brings up the fact that once she comes back eventually to visit her on Coruscant, maybe they can go to a cantina and trade stories about Master Soul, and just kind of the overall demeanor of.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of felt that too. But matter of fact, I think I made mention of that in episode 2 in our review of episode 2 that it kind of felt like a very very soft version of flirting more than anything else.
Yeah, and I believe Daphne King came out on social media and kind of confirmed as much. She kind of alluded to that. And it seems like Jackie does sense the fact that, and of course, I mean, I think it's common sense here that she's commenting on the fact that Osha's mourning the years that she lost between her and her sister. And Osha says she's no longer needed because everything's kind of settled. And here, this ship, I don't think too many people kind of recognize it, but this is May's ship. I think we've seen it in some establishing shots.
Yeah, it was on a pad.
Yeah.
Episode 1, I believe.
And here we get Chimere, who tagged along with May to Kofar, and Chimere is kind of like the almost like the bumbling sidekick in a way. And that, I mean, we've all kind of had our theories and predictions if Chimere's actually the guy in the mask. I mean, physically, I think he makes sense. because he's a smaller guy, and I think his eye line, when you look at other pictures, the picture for this particular podcast that I posted, I mean, he's looking down when you watch the end of the episode here. But Carl thinks it's definitely Corel. So
that is based on what I've seen so far in the show. It kind of seems that way.
yeah.
But they could also just be dropping blind hints just to
I know bounty hunters
reveal something completely different. Anyways, continuing on.
Yeah, and Chimere does state that he knows bounty hunters who wouldn't set foot in these forests, and May's like, "But you have been here. You're braver than those bounty hunters, and you tracked down Kelnaka."
just won't set foot in these forests.
Oh, but you have.
And Chimere explains that he did it all for her, and we get a little backstory about how Chimere has been collected by the Master, and it almost appears that Chimere's trying to suck up to May here, that he risked his life for her, and maybe try and indicates a little bit that he has maybe more of a liking to her than May has for him. And then this is interesting right here, this piece of dialogue, when Chimere says, your sister being alive doesn't change anything. See, to me, that's like something the Master would say to kind of like coax her and to keep on with the challenge, with the lesson that's been laid out. And here we have a bridge scene, which is symbolic of the bridge that we saw before that was broken into.
Yeah, one thing about that bridge scene, though, is that this is supposed to be like this uncharted planet. Why is there a bridge? I mean, they even make mention that, oh, this is largely uncharted. I'm like, who built these bridges? I mean, we do know that there's some sort of maybe smuggler presence or something here because we have those two guys that run into Kalnaka, but it still seems rather random to just build a bridge in an uncharted area.
Yeah, it's uncharted. It doesn't mean there hasn't been structures being built here. I guess it's technicality.
Yeah, no, it is a technicality. It was just one of those.
But yeah, here we get our first look at a prequel character that I don't think any of us expected to see. It is none other than a younger version of Coyote-Mundi. And there's a lot of discourse online right now in regards to this character because the fact that his Legends status had him being born maybe about 50 years or so, I think, after the events of the ACOLYTE. So obviously they've changed that. He is apparently a full-grown, I guess, man/alien. I don't know. So yeah, he's here. He's in the Jedi Order. Doesn't appear that he's on the Council. It appears that he is a Master, though. I think the subtitles kind of indicate that. So,
well, yeah. And plus, I don't think in this particular meeting there would be anybody other than Masters present.
She is fast.
Yeah.
Why would you bring in?
Yeah, we see an array of Jedi here.
But weak. Her emotions guide her every choice in combat.
Yet there is skill there.
Yes.
And there's a conversation here between Master Holden, Coyote-Mundi, and that's interesting that that Master Holden brings up a splinter order. Were you aware of splinter orders with the Jedi, or are they just talking about just non-Jedi orders out there?
Right. Well, I think they're talking more like other Force user type wars, which they're clearly aware that exists because they're aware of the Witches Coven, for example. So they would know of other Force users that exist in various different parts of the galaxy. So I think that's all they're talking about. It's like, is this just somebody who got trained by something we don't know, or rather posing the question if anybody is aware of any other group that trains people in this fashion.
You might want to move your mic a little closer to you because I think when you speak lower, you kind of trail off, and I think you get like
I was kind of leaning. I was kind of leaning back a little bit too far.
So Vernestra Rowe talks about the fact that she eluded Soul somehow, even though that she apparently they're trying to convey that she's not as powerful, but of course, apparently she is. She killed 2 Jedi.
Yes. The May targeted these 3.
4.
And there's a hologram up of Indara, Torben, and Kelnaka that they have up. That's interesting that they turned them red for the Jedi that were killed there.
I've heard that in a couple of reviews of this episode. I don't really find it all that strange because I mean that's kind of a common thing in sports casting and everything. It's like the people that get eliminated get either grayed out or red out or whatever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, Vernestra Rowe. There's dialogue here about the High Council would be obliged to inform the Senate. So they're establishing that we don't want to inform the Senate because, of course, we've been told in our previous episode that they want to avoid the whole political aspect of it. So they're kind of reinforcing that aspect and to kind of make it make sense that we don't see the High Council. This is a way around it story-wise.
Would be obliged to inform the Senate. A scandal like this would inspire fear and mistrust.
She says it right there. Fear and mistrust. You want to avoid that at all cost. And Master Holden wants to extract Kelnaka from his post on Kofar and intercept May. And we learned that Kelnaka has been on Kofar for a while. He's been placed there by the Jedi. He's not in exile, but he's been radio silent for about a year.
by the way, I thought that especially with the fact that they established that Kofar is uncharted. Why would you place a Jedi there? I don't under. I mean, it seems like
Yeah.
kind of like they exiled him on purpose, kind of thing. Like, oh, this guy's going a little nuts here. Let's go ahead and put him in some backwoods, pardon the
No
pun,
soul.
uh,
16 years
right.
ago.
location, so you can't cause any trouble.
Yeah, and Vernestra here's a little taken aback the fact that Sol didn't communicate to her that the girl, which is May, could have survived. And Sol explains that he didn't think she could have.
Only there was a chance this poor girl survived.
If I thought there was, of course I would.
And see, I think this interaction here is very genuine between Vernestra and Sol. I don't think there's any type of suspicion here on their parts, and I don't think anyone really thinks that these two are involved in dark side activities whatsoever.
Be the one to bring her in.
But there is a scene here with Coyote-Mundi. Hopefully I don't skip it here, where he walks out along with Master Holden. Yeah, I think I skipped it.
It won't come to that.
Then the Hall Master will truly.
And he totally looks back
Only a small part.
and looks suspicious right there with Master Holden. That something else is going on. There's something fishy about all this. And actually, the actor that they got to play Coyote-Mundi, he was actually the puppeteer of Borg Gullet, which is kind of funny, kind of interesting. He actually did other things as well. I think he was also the Lugabeast. He helped with that in The Force Awakens as well. So he's one of those Lucasfilm guys that's always kind of around doing different things. So we're back with May or actually Osha, or yeah, May. I'm getting them confused. May and Chimere. They're doing their best Lord of the Rings impression here, walking up the side of the mountain. And they have an interesting interaction here. They kind of talk about the Master, and
Curious how you're gonna do it this time. You failed so much.
and May asks the question
I killed him.
if he's ever seen the face of the Master, and he communicates to her that she knows that he has it. So I think that interaction kind of indicates kind of a bit of suspicion on her part, what Chimere's relationship with the Master really is, because his actions were a little off, I think, traveling with her to Kofar, and just the overall just character that he's portraying here. There's something else behind it. There's something in the shadows. There's something kind of laying dormant, so to speak. And they kind of go over the fact that May has to kill Naka without a weapon, which I don't think anyone's been able to figure out what the whole connection between May reaching for, I think, Indara's weapon, reaching for Soul's weapon, and that whole thing with the weapon stuff.
I actually do know. So in I believe it's the first run of the Vader comics, they show him doing that. When he gets his kyber crystal for his red saber,
Mhm.
and so they're actually kind of mirroring that, because he kills somebody with a Jedi without a weapon. Of course, it's Vader, and he has abilities beyond what May has. But he reaches for the other guy's lightsaber and takes it away, but he force pulls it away. So, and he also force chokes the guy, and so he kills him without a weapon because he has the ability to do all that. She clearly doesn't. So I'm not sure what the point there is to keep pointing out that she's supposed to kill a Jedi without a weapon, because she doesn't have the abilities. It would seem like to actually do that. I do have a theory about that, though.
Yeah, it's weird though, because I think we've had that conversation before, and it's like, well, why didn't she just take Indara's lightsaber? Does she have to grab the lightsaber during combat?
Well, she has to. The point is kill a Jedi without a weapon, and then use that kyber crystal. So that's why she leaves Indara's, because she didn't kill her without a weapon, so useless. And then Torben, we don't even see a lightsaber, so there's nothing to grab there. We covered that as well. So, and Soul she doesn't kill. So
okay, yeah, that makes more sense. Okay. So Travis Mitchell is watching us on YouTube. How's it going, guys? How's it going, Travis? He also says Chimera does do some weird things. Watch when they stop for a rest, he removes his robe and bag, putting them on the ground. Interesting. Yeah, he is carrying a lot of stuff there, it appears.
We didn't exactly.
So yeah, Chimera explains that he owes the master something, and also explains that he's never seen the face, and points out, oh look, there it is, the perimeter. And then May asks Chimera what was it like when Chimera spoke with Osha, and it was interesting because he explained to her that she was in over her head, and also made the connection between her and Soul. And I don't think we saw anything in the previous episodes that would lead us to believe that he knew Master Soul's name or any type of connection. So that's a little suspicious as well. So now we're back on Coruscant. We do see in the background there a very particular alien in the far left-hand corner. That was an alien species that was developed by Neil Scanlon's team. I'm forgetting the name right now. It escapes me. I just read about it a while ago. But first appeared on screen in Solo. Then also it was in the Bad Batch. There was a Force-sensitive child that was abducted. And God, I just don't remember the name. If anyone in chat remembers the name, type it in there. But yeah, I'm always looking in the background for these different characters. I have no idea what that alien back there is. And then here's a scene where Soul is trying to kind of recruit Osha to go on this mission. And they have a little conversation about May and what their intentions are with Osha. Of course, she's trying to leave here. She's trying to avoid Soul and leaving. And then she makes a comment, but I'm not wearing that civilian robe. And of course, usually when you hear something like that, they're going to cut to the character doing or wearing the thing she didn't want to do. So it looks decent though. There's like a little pack in the middle. So, and here we get another scene with another character that we're all familiar with, the species, an alien species, a Keldor, which I think the most famous Keldor is Plo Koon. But we do find out this is not Plo Koon. This is actually a different character. And I don't think we get this character in the credits, but I think it's been verified on StarWars.com. And here we meet one of the characters that we saw in marketing. One of the trailers, I believe, had this particular character. His name is Basil, and essentially they treat him like a bloodhound, which is interesting.
They call him a tracker,
right? And his species, I believe, is called the Tynan, and his species actually originates from a novel that was released in 1979 called Han Solo's Revenge, which is kind of interesting. And they also appeared in other things too, but they're a small humanoid species that resemble beavers because their front teeth grow out pretty far. But this particular character, Basil, I guess, has shorter teeth.
That's Basil.
So yeah, we find out the name. It's Basil. I kind of wasn't quite sure how to pronounce it, but yeah, it is Basil. Travis on YouTube says Basil reminds me of the gopher from Caddyshack. I mean, gopher like species. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but I think he's more or less described as like a beaver type because of the front teeth. And also, there was also a description of their species being more of a political type of race. So it's kind of interesting that they're using this character, this race, as like a tracker, which is kind of odd in the grand scheme of things, but that's what they're doing here. And yeah, Yord is breaking it down what the plan is.
No,
and
very comprehensive briefing, Yord.
You get that from OSHA, a very comprehensive briefing, and Yord is, of course, acting like Yord. And we see the Poland starship. You can see the description on StarWars.com. Separate. It looks like that's kind of the de facto hyperspace engine, and it separates to go on world.
Kind of like the Jedi Starfighter in
the
prequels.
And it looks like there's no bodies of water that you can tell for Kofor. Just all green. Or actually, off to the right. Actually, it looks like there's a lake, a really big lake.
Yeah, I mean, I think there. Well, we see rivers, so there has to be rivers and lakes. So
yeah,
because remember the bridge goes over a river.
Yeah, but like nothing like huge from.
Yeah, there don't appear to be any oceans.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a landing area with lights. And you assume that there's some type of contact. I mean, we all know this place is uncharted, but they sent Kilnaka here to be stationed. And then, I mean, there's essentially a port. And we have this character that kind of reminds me a lot of Simon Pegg's character from The Force Awakens, Unkar Plutt.
A little bit. I mean, I'm assuming it's supposed to be something completely new, but.
And the interesting thing is, it's almost like she's using like Google Translate right there to translate what you just said because they don't know the language for this species. But if you do read the High Republic books, they do this quite a bit with other alien species. So this isn't too out of the norm here. And Yord, for some reason, doesn't trust OSHA here and wants that blast being handed over.
Well, I mean, there's reason. I mean, she's used it and deliberately missed. Or if she didn't, if you assume that she didn't deliberately miss, then she's a poor shot. So now he gives the reason that it's Jedi property, so it needs to go back. But
I mean, I believe in this episode, OSHA does indicate that she deliberately missed the first time, and she wasn't sure if she could actually stun May. But I think Yord's just being Yord. He's just trying to play it by the book. Really, it's just him. And then Jackie comes back and says that alien species are indicated that Kelnaka just ended up in the forest, just to never come back and see the rest of the civilization here. And here we get a
Yeah,
shot.
I'm assuming this is more of like a trading outpost kind of thing.
Yeah. So looks like we got 8 Jedi here, and I think there's
So-
only one Padawan and a former Jedi. So yeah, this is a shot straight out of the marketing, where we all thought that was Plo Koon, that Keldor. And then we get the reveal that Basil is essentially a bloodhound here, sniffing. I don't know. What do you think that is, Carl, from Kelnaka?
Well, I'm guessing it's like, you know, part of his Jedi robes or something that they got from the temple, because I'm assuming he still has quarters there, and he's just gonna grab whatever.
Yeah. So another very Lord of the Rings-esque shot with Basil leading the way, and they're walking in single file like sand people, kind of.
Well, I mean, it's a very narrow path, so.
Yeah. So this is interesting right here. Yord talks about how instead of him taking the elective of studying Shriwook, he chose the unpopular Tynan elective to study their language. So he knows exactly what Basil's saying, which is going to come in handy here. And what was that interaction between these two about Soul? I know Yord says Soul is a wise Jedi Master. I think it's in regards to OSHA trying to figure out why Soul's trying to collect May, essentially. And
Yeah, it's I didn't find like a lot of this dialogue was a little unclear how it actually fits together with the rest of it.
But if it comes to it, and she doesn't listen to me, you need to stop her. I won't be able to do it.
OSHA.
Please.
yeah, I mean it's her twin sister. I mean it's gonna be tough if OSHA has to stop May in some type of confrontation here. So I totally get that. That makes sense. And Yord's trying to kind of give a lesson here that maybe she needs to go through this and kind of confront her and be on this journey, be on the light side.
It's kind of one of those faceophobia kind of things.
What was that? You're kind of far away.
Oh, I was just saying it seems like he's giving her kind of like the faceophobia kind of speech, you know.
Right. And we're back to Chimere and May. And we snap back to Basil smelling something rotten. And then, I don't know, is it the bugs on the trees? I don't know. I'm assuming it is.
Yeah, I
Some
mean,
type of metamorphosis or something.
well, that or it's, you know, they eat things, and obviously
Right,
they secrete things, so you could be smelling all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and OSHA just has to touch it. She touches it, wakes up, crawls behind the tree. See, I thought all of them were gonna wake up in some like huge sequel.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought it was going to turn into like a cicada storm kind of
Yeah.
thing, but it's just the one.
And then we get the lightsaber out, and they just all kind of think, "Oh, it's attracted to light." So, fortunately, easy to get rid of, and none of the other creatures woke up. And OSHA kind of apologizes and is a little remorseful for waking the creature up and it having to die. And then Jackie says it's always an honor to get to witness anything or anyone
It's always
become
an
one
honor
with
to
the
get to witness
Force.
anything or anyone transform into the Force.
Transform into the
Or anything.
Force. And they have another interaction. Jackie touches OSHA's arm there. And we're back to Chimere and May.
Oh, Tess. He calls it the final lesson.
And May actually kind of tries to reconcile the whole thing and comes to the conclusion that it's basically not possible. And they talk about the whole Jedi way of using the Force and the lightsaber for defense, never for attack. And it goes against everything that a Jedi stands for, with what her final test is essentially trying to kill Kelnaka unarmed.
It's not impossible.
And see, this just like screams that he's the master right here. It's not impossible. You know that he's trying to like coax her into actually doing and going through with the test, the lesson. And they reinforce the fact that the master will kill her if she doesn't do this. And there's a trap set by May, and there's Kinder.
I mean, I'm assuming the trap was probably already there. I don't think she actually set it. I think she sees the trap and then uses it for her purpose. I took that as like one of
Okay.
Kalnaka's, setups.
I initially thought that was a Kelnaka trap too. Then I was like, well,
I mean, how would she have done that in such little time without Chimere noticing that she's bending down a tree branch and setting up that she doesn't have any time to do that, nor does she have any rope. So
After running through that forest for an extremely long time, I realized something. I don't need to do this anymore.
so yeah, May is out. She has flip flopped totally, and she's gonna turn herself into the Jedi Order, which a lot of people are having an issue with, but I'm not having that same issue. I mean, it makes sense. I mean, she just said she's walked through the forest for an extremely long time. She's had time to think. And she says she's gonna turn herself into the Jedi. Then Chimere says no repeatedly and stop repeatedly.
It's the Jedi.
No, stop.
As he's just hanging there helpless, or seemingly helpless. And then we get mysterious music playing.
Where's Basil?
I don't know.
And then Soul has a couple of moments where he senses something, and you can see it on his face.
yeah, I mean, I took this to mean that the master is following them. Like the master's already there, which then would mean it can't be Chimere because he's currently dangling off a tree.
It's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. that kind of gives more credence to the thought that maybe it is Coral. And then Master Soul says to Osha she's not going to face May. It's not the reason why she's there. And they finally find the shelter of Kelnaka. And May falls in front of these, I don't know, this vegetation that these spores that shoot out like, I don't know, seeds or fungus or something. And Basil is standing right there. And May is thinking that this is a creature from the planet that has nothing to do with the Jedi, but she has no idea. And Basil screams out in his language that he's found May. Yord knows, of course, because Yord knows the language. And what did you think at first when you saw Kelnaka kind of slumped over like this? Did you think Kelnaka was dead, or did you think that there was something else going on?
Well, no, I actually thought he was dead, but this is actually part of the reason why I'm, again, more inclined to think that it's Coral, because the way I take all this at this point is she used May to find all these Jedi and possibly kill them, but she's not. She's more the Master's more interested in killing the Jedi rather than training her in anything, if that makes any sense. So it's not about, oh well, if she happens to turn into something cool, but I don't think that's the actual point. Which then again gives more credence to Coral, because she has a personal vendetta against these Jedi in particular.
Yeah, I agree with that. And May is inside of Kelnaka's place and is listening to the demands, and she gets the classic in the name of the Galactic Senate of the Republic. And then, of course, Soul senses what he's been sensing all along. The Master turns around. I really like this scene too. How, man, the Master just like floats down. I mean, I don't think we've ever seen anything like that in live action with like a Sith or a dark side user just floating down like that. That's kind of
Yeah, I mean, they've only the thing ever seen in this show is the floating meditation, so we know that you can float.
Right. And then we see who is affectionately being called on the internet Smilo Ren walk up to Osha here, walk right up to her, ignites the saber, and here's the big shot that we got in London from the trailer. I'm not sure if it was exactly this shot. It was a shot of Jedi igniting sabers, but it appears it was a variation of this, and it was a lot to take in when we were there.
Of course, they did do reshoots since London, so this could also be something that they just completely redid.
So we get the Osha run from Soul, and of course, it's about to leave here on a cliffhanger. And we see the Jedi completely blown back. And that's the way the episode ends, directed by Alex Garcia Lopez. So, yeah, I don't like the fact that we got a cliffhanger, but we were told that the series isn't going to end on a cliffhanger, but this episode surely did. So I think we're all assuming that we're going to see the continuance of this episode, because Leslie Headland said herself, episode 5 is going to be special. We're thinking it's going to be a lightsaber fest, and we're going to get to see some really cool things on screen. So overall, is there anything new that you took away from this episode, aside from what we talked about in the post show?
Well, they, and this is also a complaint I've heard from other people, but it's not a complaint in my case. I think we're dealing. This episode is another, misdirect, because they've been, kind of making it seem like we're going to see May fight Kalnaka, and then that doesn't happen, and so that apparently upset a lot of people, including some rather famous famous YouTubers that kind of made mention that that's just complete and utter violation of any type of script writing, which it's not. It depends. To me, it depends on what script you're writing. You know.
Uh-huh.
So, like I said at this point, my theory of what's going on is that you have Coral actually orchestrating all this from the get go. Like Coral was orchestrating the creation of these twins. Is my guess that she's already actually technically Sith, either Sith in training or already a Sith that joins this coven because she knows what they can do.
Mhm.
Because so it was just something that she can't do. Gets quote unquote impregnated. Then she's so hell bent on those two completing this ritual, which puts the mark on, but then that gets interrupted, and Osha never gets the mark, which is why she seems to be completely uninterested in Osha. Like the master has no interest in Osha whatsoever. Like there's never a mention of, oh, you must bring me your sister, or and none of that. There's never any indication that there's any interest in any of that. So it seems almost like failed experiment, not interested anymore. Just like the way she dismisses Osha in that scene, just kind of like, yeah, get out of my face. Yeah, I'm not interested in you. So that would seem weird if for somebody who's actually looking for an apprentice and has two Force users in front of her. Why would she just kind of go away? I don't need you. I mean,
but why didn't he just like kill her? Why didn't he just stick her with a blade? I mean,
because she's insignificant. I think she this is probably also the reason why she's Force sensitive, yes, but I don't think she's anywhere close to as strong as May technically is, because May got the whatever that Mark does, and she didn't, which is also why she never finished her Jedi training, because she's just not that good in the Force. So that's my interpretation. I don't know that I'm correct, but like I said, I think the two of them were an experiment to begin with that got interrupted. Now, Osha is just a complete waste of space to this person, and so the only one that to me at this point makes sense is Coral, because what seems to have happened in episode 3 is that and Craig actually pointed this out too, that there was there's mention that there's a problem with that generator type thing, and they show some malfunction there, and you see Coral actually going over there to inspect that. We don't see her dead amongst the bodies. They make it, if you freeze on the shot of the Sith in here, that looks to me to be a female character. If you look at the height, according to Wikipedia of Coral, she's 1.68 meters, I believe. So that's what, 5'7". That's why. So she would be, that would make her slightly taller, but not than Osha. So it all fits together. And if you then also look at the helmet, you could easily hide there's more space above the forehead there where the horns would be.
Yeah, that's true.
And
but that's also Kymir's height too, I think.
Actually, Chimera seems more like eye to eye with her.
You think so?
Mm-hmm. Like when they're walking through the forest in this episode, they seem to be pretty much level.
Let's see.
There's a shot right there where they're literally side by side. He's slightly ahead of her, but
I killed Torben.
so you like when they're walking, they seem pretty much level.
Your mask.
I don't know.
He's walking. Well, like I said, he's slightly ahead of her. When we see him from behind, May looks taller. When we see him from the front, he looks taller. So
Right,
And
but that scene where he defended her in one of the first episodes, I think it was the second episode, they were on level ground and he was taller than her. I remember that
Yeah.
distinctly.
Yeah, I
So
mean it's possible, but like I said, I think he's just like the guy to keep an eye on her and report back, like the useful fool
yeah.
to me. But again, could be wrong.
Yeah, so I wanted to point this out. So Paul Bullion, that was the redheaded Master Lakshay. And here you see, of course, Master Coyote Money, played by Derek Arnold, who's essentially a Lucasfilm employee who's done several different things, puppeteered Borg Gullet, amongst other things. So, yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So, yeah, we have a lot of comments here that I want to address. Thank you to everyone in chat that's submitting all these comments here. I think catching up to the last one here. Travis Mitchell on YouTube says, only to scoop them up as he runs away in Magic. That's misdirection. How could he change into the bad guy armor if he set his stuff down, but he picks it up at the last second? I think that's one of the scenes in the forest with Chimera in May.
What is it? You know, I mean, is it possible? Sure, but I don't think there's enough time. And there's the fact that Soul reacts to something following them prior to any of that. So, I mean, could he be sensing Chimera? I guess, but the Chimera and May are ahead of them because May gets there first. So I don't know why he would be turning around to say to send somebody who's in front of him. You know what I mean?
Mitchell, yeah, Travis Mitchell also says, while I don't want the bad guy to be Chimera, I speculate if he is, he left his armor hidden in the forest the first time he busted the planet. Yeah, that's a possibility. That he visited the planet. Travis on YouTube also says Keldor is also the name of Skeletor in He-Man. Not sure if there's a connection with the names.
It could just be. Yeah, I mean, I did find that interesting, but I don't necessarily think that that it's something done on purpose, but more of a you know nod to other fantasy fare, if at all. It could also be complete.
Travis also says Yord stuck up for her before. Sees her intentions are true, but is too caught up in his ways to admit he was wrong. So he continues to be a hard ass to maintain composure. Yeah, I totally see that in Yord's character. That's something that is typically Yord. And Travis also says Yord has some Anakin vibes in this moment. Travis also says, while the moment she turns is comically quick, I think when viewed right after episode 2, the transition feels so much more natural. Travis says, I speculate Kalnaka was dead for a while. May's test was to kill without a weapon, but he killed himself out of guilt. Her test is if she keeps going, she does it, so the master slashes the corpse. Well, I mean, Kalnaka technically can't be dead. Well, I mean,
we don't know the time frame for that opening scene, so
yeah, I mean, the slash on the chest was like fresh; it was smoking,
right.
But I mean, we don't know if that was the exact thing that killed Kalnaka.
Plus, I don't know how you would actually physically pull that off. Like if he had slit his throat or something, okay, but like cut yourself across the chest with a lightsaber seems a little odd. Theoretically possible, but
yeah, it's almost it's. I mean, if Kalnaka was sitting in the chair, the master comes up from behind and just ignites the saber and slices.
Yeah, if somebody else is doing it, this slice across the chest makes more sense. But yeah, him self-inflicting that, I don't think that's the case.
Yeah.
Like I said, it said self-inflicting, putting the lightsaber to the bottom of your skull and pushing the igniter would make more sense if you tried to kill yourself with a lightsaber. Just saying.
And Travis adds to making his suicide look like a murder, the difference between passing the test and failing it. Travis says if you look closely when the master is face to face with Osha, you can actually see his eyeball through his mask, which is creepy as hell. Interesting. I think I've heard people talk about that. I haven't been able to see the eyeball through the mask.
Yeah, I haven't either. I've seen odd reflections on the helmet, but I haven't noticed any eyes. And I've kind of frame by frame through a lot of these shots to try to figure out who this is. But I guess I could have missed that too.
Yeah, I think you're starting to convince me more and more that it is the other mother, the mother that carried the twins, the Zabrak. So
now, unfortunately, it's a little stereotypical, because Darth Maul and just in general, it's just that whole group kind of has that negative stigma because you have the Witch of Dathomir and all that kind of stuff that's all from the same planet. So now at the same time, that could also be part of the part of the point. Maybe this character has been gaining Force knowledge by going from coven to coven, kind of trying to incorporate some of these things into one thing. So it may not actually be a Sith at all. This could just be somebody that's kind of picking up skills from various different groups.
Yeah.
But that remains to be seen. We literally don't know anything about this character other than red lightsaber and extremely powerful at force pushing anyways, because wiping out an entire group of Jedi with one force push, that's a pretty hefty push right there.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That's a very overpowered dark side user right there. And if that's the apprentice to the master, it's like, what is a master capable of? I mean,
yeah, it's I don't know that seemed like just like the wave of the finger to that was kind of a Darth Vader level. You remember the Rogue One scene where he's just kind of waving at people and they're smashing against the ceiling and the side walls. That's kind of what the power level that this portrays. I don't know that it necessarily is, but it seems like a very, very powerful Force user, at least in the Force push department. Everything else remains to be seen.
Yeah. Travis says on YouTube, maybe it's morbid, but I want to see a Jedi land on their own lightsaber after they're all thrown. Well, I mean, it's fiction. It's not real. So it's I think we're kind of predicting that a lot of Jedi here are about to die. I think.
Well, yeah, all the red shirts, because there's several. Yeah, there are several Jedi that don't even get a speaking role. They don't say anything. They're just standing around in the background, and clearly those are gonna get wiped out. I mean, it's just
yeah, for sure.
And yes, that was a Star Trek reference in the Star Wars. But I mean, that's clearly how they're introduced. They don't even bother giving them names. It's like, okay, Jedi whatever number 3.
Yeah, I think ILM has done most of the effects work for all the Star Trek films, so it's okay to start to talk Star Trek. And of course, J.J. Abrams did 2 Trek films, and someone at ILM stuck an R2-D2 in space in one of the opening sequences.
So yeah, at this point, there's crossover between the two. So, but yeah, I mean, like I said, we're based on what they've shown us so far. I think it's Coral, but it could be somebody entirely different. We don't know, but
yeah,
that would make the most sense to me. Because, like I said, you have Soul constantly turning around like something's following them, and just in timeline wise, we know that May and Chimera are ahead of them because May gets to Kanaka first and is inside where he lives when they arrive there. So There's that. There's the fact that he just doesn't seem like it seems like they would have dropped some sort of more precise hint that he has any type of force ability, and there's not a single hint of that anywhere in the show. I've actually looked for it, and I just don't. And there's not like him picking up a glass, sliding a glass across a countertop, or there's no force pull, there's no force push. There doesn't seem to be any foresight in anything he does. I mean, yes, could that all be enacted? Yeah, of course it could be, but that seems like a very, very, very good act for somebody that's that powerful. I don't buy that setup where Coral would make a lot of sense to me, anyways, because like I said, she has a vested interest in all 4 of these Jedi to die, especially with my theory of May and Osha being an experiment of hers that got ruined by these 4 Jedi. So it's not just that, because if she's the one that killed all the witches in the Coven, then she clearly doesn't care about those characters. So she wouldn't be mad about the Coven getting wiped out. That's not but she would be mad about her experiment getting ruined. If somebody came by your lab and smashed one of your petri dishes that you've been working on all semester, you'd be pretty mad too. So,
And Travis on YouTube says, especially once you see the Master's eyeball, the scene takes on more of a vibe that this person has seen someone they haven't seen in a long time and is distracted. It could be Coral. And Travis also says, I so badly want him to find Kymir still hanging, but he's been eaten by one of those bugs or his head is cut off.
that's a bit dark, but yeah, I guess that. I don't think we're gonna see a decapitated Kymir hanging from a tree, but theoretically possible.
I mean, we have seen a Jango Fett decapitated. We have seen a Count Dooku decapitated.
Yeah, but not decay. But these are all people in armor. And Dooku, we don't actually see the body decapitated. We see the body laid there, and you can't see a head. But
I mean,
if it was decapitated from predation, that would be a lot more graphic than getting your head cut off with a lightsaber. Let's put it that way. Because if a bug eats your head, I don't think they're gonna make a nice clean cut, and that's it. There would be a whole bunch of more going down there. But
yeah,
still a fun thought. But I don't think I don't think. I mean, we might actually see him hanging off a tree. And the the Master cutting him down and taking him with her, or him.
Yeah.
But under the current assumption, it would be her. But again, I think there's no definitive 100% way to tell who that actually is yet, because there is still a very, very strong possibility that this is a character that we don't know yet. Completely new character that hadn't been introduced anywhere yet, and gets revealed next episode, maybe not, or this could also be a reveal for episode 8. Who's actually under the mask.
Yeah, we've essentially seen most of the marketing live action shots. I think the only 2 big shots we haven't seen are Vanessa Rowe with her light whip and the shuttle going through the asteroid field.
And Kanaka fighting Torben.
Yes, that's the other big one as well.
So we haven't seen that at all. So that's, I guess, part of the what went wrong kind of thing.
Yeah. And Travis on YouTube says, I just think of the 3rd Predator movie with Topher Grace hanging from a tree, but he does end up being the villain. Haha. I mean, Kymir could be the apprentice, and then Coral could be the master. I mean, it's
that's another possibility. Now, the Predator reference, by the way, was something I was going to point out with that whole floating down from the trees. That she's been following them all this time in the treetops, which is why Soul turns around and never sees anybody.
Okay.
So kind of a ninja / Predator thing. But again, there's no actual indication that's happening, but it kind of reminded me of Predator.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, for me, what stands out in this episode, of course, is the encounter at the end, the the floating down. Uh, Mundi out of nowhere. No one suspected that he was going to be in the series at all. Um, they've apparently changed his maybe not changed, but in Legends, his date of birth was later on in the timeline. So now that's definitely different. As far as
But but I mean, that's not the first time they changed something from Legends.
Right,
First of
right.
all, and secondly, does it really matter how old he is?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it doesn't, but it was just kind of a surprise that we kind of got him there. Because I've said several times that Leslie Headland has stated that the only characters we're going to see are characters that are from the High Republic and EU, and I guess yeah, Mundi's from the EU. I mean, he has stories and legends as well. And I think we talked. You mentioned earlier about it. All of his, he was the only Jedi permitted to have wives and a family, and that's kind of wild. Why was he permitted to have wives?
Because of the extremely slow reproductive and birth rate on his planet.
I think
So
we've talked
remove
about that before.
so removing him from the gene pool would actually damage the species. So therefore, it was kind of a necessity more than anything else. Like I said, I don't know if any of that is canon, but that's the background behind the being allowed to reproduce and marry, because
yeah,
I think the marrying is the point there is that you have to get married to have kids in the culture, and therefore he has 4 wives, I think.
wow.
So
Yeah. And Travis thinks he's getting a vibe that Jackie is dying next episode. All our dialogue about witnessing death, becoming one with the Force, and defining yourself by what you survive lines what people say before you die. What do you think about that?
possible. I kind of have a feeling that she's one of the ones that kind of makes it through this, though.
Yeah.
I like we were talking earlier. Obviously, the unnamed background Jedi, they're pretty much gonna get wiped out.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, the opening scene of next episode may be them getting cut in half, kind of thing. I think we're gonna get down to Osha, Jackie, Yord, and Soul from the people outside, and I think May is going to join this, and I think we're going to see prediction for the next episode is Osha and May doing the same thing that they did in the training episode in episode 2, like when they combine, to use the Force, they're stronger than individually. So I think we're going to see like another Force push and then blocking it this time, because they foreshadowed that in episode 2. So I think that's how they're going to get out of that, because this Force user certainly appears to be more powerful than even Soul is. So I think we're going to see them fleeing this situation rather than actually fighting it out. I think you're going to see like I said, the peons getting killed off and our main characters escaping.
Yeah, Travis asks, do you think that we're getting a full fight sequence, or will it be a thing where the master just takes Osha and disappears? The latter is a very TV thing to do. I always keep in mind that this is a TV show, and I think that narrows down the possibilities of what we're going to get. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do the whole thing you just said, Travis, and the master just grabs Osha or May and just jets. I mean, that seems realistic, but I mean, we've seen stuff where Jackie is actually fighting in a wooded area against the master, I believe. So, I mean, there's that.
Well, like I said, I think we're gonna get a short fight sequence. I predict that it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna end with Soul, Jackie, Osha, and May fleeing the scene, and the master killing everybody else, and then then it's gonna come down to trying to figure out who this person is. So I don't think we're getting a reveal next episode, even though that also might be possible. It may actually be possible, in the course of a combat, the helmet comes off.
Yeah.
So hard to say. But with like I said, just based on gestures, I don't think there's any interest in OSHA whatsoever. There's not been a single indication that this character has any interest in OSHA. She does have some level of interest in May, but that may have just been a means to an end, because that may still be one of those failed experiment kind of things. Yeah, you might serve a purpose. Let's see how you turn out by yourself. Oh, you didn't. I'm not interested. And you betrayed me on top of that. So, not interested in you anymore either. But
Yeah, Travis brings up the fact that if those bugs didn't wake up in this episode, I think they're all next episode. I want to say that I saw something in the marketing where I saw all the bugs flying, or maybe I just
I don't remember that in particular, but that would be once again be a good foreshadowing of some knowledge of the Force that our Jedi characters have that the Sith character doesn't. So that might be a way to escape, like wake all of them up, and they create some confusion, get away while all that is happening.
Yeah.
But like I said, I think we're going down to four Jedi or 5 Jedi characters. I don't necessarily think Yor dies, but there's a possibility that Yor dies here, because he's like the virtuous I will sacrifice myself kind of character.
Yeah.
So Yor might actually die in this scenario.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in, commenting on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. We will be back for episode 5 for sure. We're going to do a pre-show, post-show, along with Zach and Craig most likely, and do a breakdown along with Carl, and hopefully Craig returns. I know we had some scheduling conflicts here, but yeah, shout out to Travis on YouTube with a lot of good insight that we got to kind of go through and talk about here. It was a very short episode, so there wasn't a whole lot. There wasn't a whole lot of Easter eggs here to cover, but to me, Coyote Money, that's wild that we got him. I still can't get over that. And then the Keldor that's not Plo Koon. And finally, we got to see kind of the Master in action a little bit. And I do want to go back and look closely and see if I can see that eyeball that Travis was talking about on YouTube. So, yeah, take care, Travis. Fun stream. So, I just want to remind everyone that's watching, make sure you like the video. Subscribe if you haven't, and you can always find us on YouTube, of course, if you're not watching us there. Like and subscribe. Instagram at Star Wars Stuff Pod. We're on Twitter at Stuff Pod. On Threads at Star Wars Stuff Podcast. Also on Patreon, you can find us at Star Wars Stuff Podcast 2187. We're also on TikTok. You can email us as well at StarWarsStuffPodcast@gmail.com. And of course, we're on Facebook. We have a group and a page. We've had a lot of people join recently, and they weren't aware that we have a group and a page on Facebook. So thank you, everyone, for that. And for Carl, my name is David, and may the Force be with you.
Always.